Hey, my name is Sarah White, and today I'm going to tell you about how to take a proper soil sample. One of my favorite activities when I was in high school was being a part of the land judging team. When I was on the land judging team, we did things like study land capability classes, take soil samples, and learn all about the different layers of the soil. One day, when we were having land judging practice, a kid asked my advisor, "Why are we looking at all of this dirt anyway?" And my advisor said to him that it was called soil and not dirt, because soil has living and organic matter in it that makes it so beneficial for all of the plants and trees, grasses and shrubs that we can imagine. So today I'm going to show you about how to take a proper soil sample with 4 easy steps. So for step 1, you're going to want to grab your materials. You're going to need a clean bucket, a pint-sized soil container, a pen, and a soil probe. So now that you've completed step 1 of gathering your materials, we're going to take 10 to 15 6-inch core samples. So what you're going to do is put your soil probe into the ground, and you're going to twist to make sure that you get about 6 inches of dirt. And you can see that I've got about 6 inches here in my soil probe. So this is a little bit of the organic matter off the top and some of the topsoil. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that right in our bucket. And you want to make sure that your bucket is clean before you use it so you don't have any particles of any other soil or anything else that can contaminate your samples. So I'm going to show you one more time in a different spot how to take a soil sample. And so we're going to want to repeat this process for about 10 to 15 core samples in a zigzag pattern throughout the field. For time's sake in this video, I didn't want to show me taking up all 15 samples because that would take a little bit of time. So I wanted to include this picture. So this picture shows the zigzag pattern that you should follow when soil sampling. And you want to make sure that you get 10 to 15 good core samples from an average part of the field. When you're soil sampling, you don't want to take any of the high or low areas of the field, but you want to make sure that you get the most consistent across as possible. If you have a bad area in your field, for example, like a wet spot or something, a really dry spot or anything just won't grow there, you're going to want to take a separate sample of that field, clean your bucket, clean all of your tools in between, and send it in separately to the lab. That way you can see what the different areas is in your field and maybe try to identify what problem that is being caused in that area of your field. Following a zigzag technique is something that's used variously throughout agriculture, whether it be scouting, tissue sampling, just to help get a good area, a good summary of the whole entire field. You want to make sure you cover it through the zigzag pattern. So now that you have completed following the zigzag pattern and taken 10 to 15 6-inch core samples from your field, you're going to want to mix. You can see in here that we've got some lumps in our sample, and you're just going to want to mix all of that together and break it up. Now, if your soil is wet, you want to make sure that it dries out for a couple of days before you put it in your sample box. Now we have a pint-sized container of our sample box, so you're just going to want to put that together. And you're going to want to fill up your pint-sized sample box with your sample from the field. You want to make sure you have your name, the field name that you got this from, on your box, and an address, so that way that you can get your sample results sent back to you. So now that our box is full, you're just going to want to package it up and send it off to the lab. So now that you've completed step 4 of putting your soil into your pint-sized box, you're going to want to send it off to the NCDA for testing. Testing usually will take about 2 weeks depending on the demand they have, and then you'll get your soil report back, full of all the information you need to know to make sure that your field is growing the right crops. So just to re-emphasize today, the steps we have covered are 1. Gather your materials. 2. Take 10 to 15 6-inch core samples. 3. Mix your sample well. And 4. Put it in the box and send it off to the NCDA for testing. After you send your soil test sample off to the NCDA for testing, you will get back a soil test report. Your soil test report helps tell you things like what the last crop grown was, what the recommended crop for the following year will be, and recommendations for the soil to help improve your crop growth. It's really important that you include the sample numbers on your soil test box before you send it off, so that way that you know exactly what field lines up with what information on your soil test report. For example, on this picture, you can see that the first sample on the top row, last year's crop was Bermuda grass, and this recommended this year is for Bermuda hay is the recommended crop. You have recommendations for lime, nitrogen, potassium, sulfate, magnesium, copper, zinc, boron, and plenty of other nutrients that can help your crop be more beneficial. Looking at a soil test report and being able to understand what it says can be a great help in making sure that your crop is as beneficial and as helpful as possible for the next growing season.
1. Gather your materials. 2. Take 10 to 15 6-inch core samples. 3. Mix your sample well. And 4. Put it in the box and send it off to the NCDA for testing. I hope that you even learned something from this video today. And always remember that it takes about 100 years to build up for 1 inch of soil. So you want to make sure that you protect the soil and the environment you have, because we only have one shot. I thank you for coming to my presentation today, and if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to contact me at my email or phone number provided on the screen.